Welcome to Short Stories by Joey. This story is about a little boy who never had a chance when he suddenly discovers a dog that will help him live forever. The story of Smile Dog is that it has no story, it is just the demonic pet of a serial killer. Jeff, however, has a haunting story. It all began when Jeff was just a child. He was the youngest of 3 children. His parents hated him because he was a boy. Jeff was an introverted kid. He didn't have any friends, and his parents and sisters would beat him for just breathing too loud. Jeff never went to school. His parents were so ashamed that he was a boy that they kept him hidden in the cellar. Jeff always spent his time alone, doing his best to avoid his parents and sisters, because they were always looking for a reason to beat him. At the age of 17, Jeff talked back to his father. He finally stood up for himself. He had so much hate built up from so many years of abuse. He was actually tougher than any of his family members knew. After having been beat to the ground by his father, Jeff got up and just laid on his bed and grinned. He grinned such a huge grin. He thought that his lips might tear apart. Jeff felt something snap inside, and he fell asleep bearing the psychotic grin. While Jeff was sleeping, he began having the most lucid dream. Jeff dreamt of a dog. It was a Siberian Husky with the reddest eyes. Jeff liked this dog. In his dream, Jeff and the dog just stared at each other. The dog was sitting next to a gravestone. Jeff couldn't really make out what it said at first, but when he stepped closer to the gravestone, he could see that it had all the names of his family members. When Jeff looked back at the demonic dog, it had the same huge grin that he did before he fell asleep. After dreaming of the dog, Jeff woke up in a cold sweat. He jumped up from the bed and stood straight on his feet. He then walked up the stairs to the cellar and headed into the kitchen and took a knife from the counter. Then he walked up another set of stairs where his family's bedrooms were. He walked into his parents' room with purpose and intention. He had no hesitation as he drove the knife through both of their chests while they slept. After he was done with that, he walked into his oldest sister's room and did the same thing to her. When he made his way into his other sister's room, he noticed right away that she wasn't in her bed. Jeff walked into the room looking all around him. He walked around his sister's bed, squinting in the darkness. He did not see his sister until she was lunging toward him. She had a feeling a day might come that Jeff would retaliate, and she was always ready for this moment. She shoved him so hard that he smashed through the window behind him. Jeff fell. He fell to stories and hit the ground with a loud thud. Jeff was gone. 2 days later, while Jeff's body laid in the morgue, a Smile Dog appeared at his feet. The dog had a mission, and it was to enter the physical world. The Smile Dog had to possess a human body to survive in the physical world. The deceased human could come back to life and go on living an immortal life while transforming into the dog form whenever Husky felt it necessary. While the Smile Dog sat at Jeff's feet, he spread his lips thin and bared his huge smile. His eyes began to glow bright blood red. All the dog had to do now is jump. He had to literally jump into Jeff's body, and so he did. All of a sudden, Jeff's body jerked up into a sitting position. He was gasping at the air. When Jeff finally caught his breath, the Smile Dog began speaking. "This is the deal. You get to live forever, and so do I," said the Smile Dog with a booming voice. Jeff looked around frantically, but quickly became calm. "I chose you, Jeff, because your grin matches mine," barked a Smile Dog. "Come now, Jeff, we have to go. Do you see that black window up there? You have to climb through it." Jeff never said anything to the Smile Dog. He only listened and did what it was telling him to do. Jeff stood quickly on the table he was laying on and shoved the window so hard that he broke it. He began climbing out of the window. Jeff got his upper body out of the window and used his newfound strength to pull his lower half through the window too, throwing himself out of the window. He fell a short distance into some sort of tunnel. After Jeff began to get up and brush himself off, the Smile Dog boomed in his head again. "Follow the tunnel out of here," it said. Jeff began walking and walking. He finally made it to the end of the tunnel, which had been sealed off with concrete. Jeff had the instinct to just punch the wall of concrete that was in front of him. The concrete literally crumbled away with one punch, and Jeff climbed through the rubble into the sunlight on the other side. Jeff squinted at the brightness, because he had always lived in the cellar, and he woke up in a morgue. He wasn't used to seeing the sun at all. "You have to see me to complete the possession, Jeff," said the Smile Dog. "Our smiles have to match. We must find a reflection. If we do not complete the possession, you will die again. Go." Jeff knew that the morgue didn't have any reflections. The workers had their fear of seeing someone's ghost, so they lined all of the windows with black paint. He had to find something nearby because time was wasting. Jeff began walking down the sloped land toward the town that lay below. He had to find a window or mirror to stand in front of. When Jeff finally made it to the town, he walked straight toward the nearest building. He walked up to a window that had a closed curtain behind it. He figured it was too early in the morning for anyone to be inside. Jeff stared into the window. He could now see himself, and he could also see the demonic husky standing by his side. The Smile Dog said, "Now stare into my eyes and smile, Jeff." The dog smiled, and so did Jeff. Jeff smiled, and the husky's smile looked just the same. Jeff smiled bigger. Jeff's eyes began to glow red in the reflection. He felt more powerful than ever. He also had the urge to kill more than ever. "The transformation is complete," said the Smile Dog. "We will live forever." Jeff just smiled his big, creepy smile, without a prompt from his new pet, and began his hunt for people to kill.